Hi, I'm Mike from 1A Auto. We've been selling auto parts for over 30 years.
Hi guys, Sue from 1A Auto, and today we're going to be installing an outer tie rod end on our 09 CRV. Don't forget to get your parts at 1aauto.com. First up, we're going to remove the tire. It's a 19mm socket on this. Now with the lug nuts all loose, you're clear to jack it up and put it on a jack stand. So here we have the right outer tie rod end. That's this section right here. This is what they call a jam nut, and this is the inner tie rod end. Now the bellows boot to the power steering rack covers the inner part of the inner tie rod end. So after I spray the rust inhibitor spray and let it sink in a little bit, the first thing I want to do to make my life easy is I'm going to loosen up this jam nut. This jam nut, just loosen it enough so that once I remove the outer tie rod end, I can mark my inner and then take the nut off in order to slide the bellow boot off. You mark the jam nut so that you have as close as proper alignment so you can drive to an alignment shop to have it adjusted. So this, on this particular, is a 24mm wrench. I'm gonna get in there. I just broke that free. So now that we've loosened up our jam nut, next thing we want to do is remove the old cotter pin. Now the tie rod end from 1aauto.com comes with a new cotter pin for you, and that's definitely comes in handy. You need to replace this. You cannot use the old one. Now this is going to be really frozen in there, so I'm going to try to pull it from the other side. The odds are it's going to break off, which is fine because we're replacing it anyways. You want to cut it as close to the threads as possible so it's a little bit easier for you when you back that nut off. So the nut that holds the outer tie rod on to the knuckle is a 19mm socket. So I'm gonna place that right on. The longer the bar you have, the more leverage. You can really break that free. Spin that down. Nice. So now with the nut out, we're going to take a hammer and we're going to tap it on the point of the knuckle so this vibrates and pops out. So we're going to be careful not to hit the backing plate or the rotor. We don't want to mark anything. We just want to give this a good whack a couple of times. And there you have it. Now that we've already loosened up the jam nut, that outer tie rod end can spin off. Now some people will count turns, so we'll aim this at 6 o'clock. So I'll hold the inner and I'll spin it and count. 1, 2. That's 12, 13, 15. So almost 16 3/4, so 17 will be safe. So here we have the 1aauto.com outer tie rod end and the factory tie rod end that I just took out of this 09 Honda CRV. You can see they're the exact same length, both sealed from the factory. That means they're non-greasable, they come with grease in them. It comes with a new castle nut, which is always nice, and a new cotter pin that'll go into the guide pin once the nut's on. You can see our inner thread matches. It's even got a nice wrench holding spot. So remember to get your parts at 1aauto.com. So now to install the outer tie rod end, I'm going to start again with my nut of the outer facing down. I counted 17.5 turns or so, and I'm going to turn it in the same amount of turns. And there's that half turn, so I'm going to turn it a half back, facing it down so that it will go right into that knuckle. And I have my new castle nut. I'm going to start that by hand. And I'll get my socket and I'll tighten that down and retighten the jam nut once that's tightened. So I've installed the outer tie rod end and I hand started my castle nut, and it's a 17mm socket or wrench, and I'm gonna just snug her down. Now the tie rod end stud has a drilled hole completely through, milled hole, so I can line my cotter pin up with the castle part of the nut. I'm just using a 3/8 drive to tighten this down, but I'm going to snug it up with a nice 1/2 inch. Make sure I get a good snug fit. Now with my 1/2 inch breaker bar and 17mm deep socket, I'm going to give it a good little twist, and I'm going to keep locating and seeing where that milled hole lines up with the castle. And it's right there. And you'll see the hole lines up with the castle nut. So now I can install my tie rod end, my new tie rod end. So to install the cotter pin, I like to put it so that the round edge is facing out. You know, if you go to do any other work on it here someday, you don't want the sharp edge hanging out. And a little safety note on my speaking from experience. So now I'll get my cutter tool and I'm going to pull that down, and I'm going to cut this one here, and I'm going to hammer that up. You can use a flathead screwdriver or a punch. And like I said, I like to mill those right over so that I don't get cut with that. So now that I've installed my outer tie rod end, nice and tight, jam nuts on, cotter pin, I am going to tighten up my jam nut. This is a definite, can't forget this. You can go down the road and that will loosen right up. So the new jam nut is a 22mm wrench. The old one was a 24. Does the same job. Just want you to be aware of the different size. So bottoming out, and I'm going to give it a good tug. Now that is snug, ready for alignment. So on this 09 CRV, the inner and the outer tie rod end are identical the same as the left side, driver's side or passenger side. Same job, No extra tools, done the same way. So now that all our front end repairs are done, to remount your tire, yeah. Install the tire. Start all the lug nuts by hand. And once we have them snug up against the rim in the hub, I'm going to lower it down and I'm going to torque these lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds. That's the manufacturer's specification for this vehicle. So if you're using a floor jack and not a lift, I don't put all the weight of the vehicle on the tire yet. I just make sure that it's got a good amount of weight on it so that I can get a nice flat mounting. And torquing these and tightening them in a star pattern assures a nice snug fit. Once again, the wheel torque on this 09 Honda CRV is 80 foot-pounds. I like to recheck, see how that. And now you're safe for the road.
Thanks for watching. Visit us at oneauto.com for quality auto parts, fast and free shipping, and the best customer service in the industry.